Again, welcome to Research Methods in Computers and Society. This is CS312. So this is our last chapter or our last lectures in our course textbook. This is chapter 14 of our course textbook. And also this is our final week. Next week is our final exams week. So in chapter 14 of our course textbook, we went through how to present our research. And the topic is presenting your research. In a previous chapter, which is chapter 13, we discussed on how to write or report our results and how to discuss it in our paper or a report. So this chapter 14 is similar to chapter 13, but in chapter 14, we are going to discuss how to present our result to an audience, such as a workshop or a conference or a meeting to our colleagues in an institution, etc. So again, the topic is presenting your research, chapter 14. So our objective is explaining how to best to present your study to an audience. Also, we are going to discuss how to apply to regional and also national conferences. And especially if you are going to pursue a career in academia or a research organization, the best way to advance your career is attending conferences, possible presenting your research to a conferences. And also, we're going to describe how to get an article published in a peer-reviewed journal, which is also very important if you're in academia or research field. So we can see the difference between chapter 14 and 13. This topic seems like they are the same, but there's a difference. Chapter 13 is how we are going to report our findings or our results and discuss it. Chapter 14 is how to present it to an audience, either in a workshop, in an institution, or any organization, but the goal is presenting it to an audience. So presenting your findings are as important as conducting the studies also. Presentation allows you to spread the word about your work, and also it opens door for opportunities such as publishing in a journal article. So as we said earlier, again, if you are in the field of academia or research organization, publishing your work can again advance your career. I think it's very important to do that. Also, start by presenting your findings to your classmates. So in this course, we are going to present our final research paper in our classroom section. So presenting your findings to an audience, first, these are some few questions we should ask ourselves to prepare for it. First, how do you convert a potentially uninterested audience into an invested one? So converting potentially an uninterested audience into an invested one. And secondly, how do you involve and also engage your end audience? And how do you encourage questions and inspire your audience? So these are three important questions. And in summary, the whole goal here is how we can again interact with our audience and how our audience can get into our presentation, should be able to engage and benefit from it. So we may have a researcher may have a good findings or do a good research work, but if you are not prepared for the presentation, especially to your audience, it won't be a good thing. It will not be a good thing. So again, it's very good. We should prepare our presentation to an audience in a very positive way. As we take our study serious, we should also take it serious when we are presenting our findings to the audience. This will open a lot of opportunity for us to also advance our career. So we need to identify the main points. Now, before creating your PowerPoint slides, if that's what you are going to use for presentation, which most of us use, before creating a PowerPoint slides, we should think about the entire project first. Now, which section are most important to you? The background, or the methodology, or the results, or the discussion points, and so on. Now, the next step, we are going to put all these headings or the sections in a ranking form. So determine how much time you intend to spend on each section or each topic. Remember, you need to include a background information to put the study in a context, but we should also be careful about providing too much details of the literature review. Also, time is a factor. Maybe we have 20, 30 minutes to present a paper. You don't want to go detail into the background of the studies and discuss about all the possible literature review, which can take maybe 10, 15 minutes of your time before the results, etc. So we need to, again, plan carefully how we are going to present our paper. And most important, we should determine how much time we are going to assign to each section of the paper or the presentation. This makes it possible that when you are using Microsoft PowerPoint, you can even set the time on each slide when it should be on the screen. If it's every 1 minute or 2, you can set it. So the slides will be changing with your timing. Also, remember, you need to include the background information, as we said. That's very important, but not detail. And the last and most important, we should manage our time. So people are engaged when you hear a good story. So that's the key word again. And you are likely attracted to your research topic because of a personal story or a connection. Also, you share a similar personal story or connection with your audience to help them understand the essence of your study. So I think this is very, very important. Share a similar personal story or connection with your audience to help them understand the essence of your study. So we need to consider our ethical issues. Accurate presentation. We make sure we are not going to mislead the audience or misrepresent information. Also, we should be very careful about the standards of research ethics. And also, we need to be careful not to harm or violate anyone's privacy. For example, if I did a research in the medical field and I use participants or subjects, since this is a medical issue, I'll make sure the data privacy, confidentiality of the patients. Instead of using their names, maybe my paper, I may use a unique number assigned to each of the subjects. Also, the literature review, hypothesis, methodologies, and findings. You should, again, put all this in order. Should I start with the literature review first? During the process, I'll come with my own research. Literature review, I'm going to talk about the background of my research, some of the works that has been done in the field that is related to my work at present. Hypothesis is what I'm testing, what I'm doing now. The methodology I'm going to use to test the hypothesis, and also the findings, the result. So I would say that the best way to tell your results should be in this format. And even most of our dissertation thesis, we always start with the introduction. in general what we are going to talk about. Then when we go to the background of the studies, that will be the literature. Then we can discuss about that. Most of the time, the hypothesis can be discussed in the introduction section. Then methodology will come, because from the methods that we are going to use, if it's a data to analyze, what techniques we are going to use, the algorithms, then the findings, that would be the last part. So here we say, in addition to tell a story, show your audience that your work is professional, ethical, and also thoughtful. Explain what other studies say about your topic, and also briefly state your hypothesis and the relationship you are investigating. Visual aids are very important. Actually, that's why we are using presentation. So visual aids are not the focus of your presentation, though they are powerful attention grabbers. But that's not the focus of your presentation. Make sure your visual aid fits the needs of your study. And also we should remember, fewer words, a better presentation. It's better to go straight to the point and get everything explained step by step than trying to go more detail and moving around. So fewer words, a better presentation. Also, there are some few practical tips from our course textbook. And these materials will not be in the final exams. So here is about how you present yourself when you are doing your presentation to audience. Body language is very important, eye contact, personality, etc. So the tone of your voice and your body language when you address the audience is very important. Make eye contact, keep your voice in check, use armor wisely, dress appropriately, and stand up straight. Practice, practice, practice will make you perfect. So again, this is just a tips, and these materials will not be in the final exams. And applying to a conference, there are so many ways you can apply to conference, and most common conferences is organized by universities. And also, to apply for a conference, most likely, let's say I am in a computer science field. The journals in my field of studies, any professional journal in my field of studies, I may see advertisements of different conferences by different universities or different organizations. So most of the time, we can get information about conferences around the world through our different professional journals. Or if you're a member of any professional organization, they may provide all this information out. So many universities organize their own conferences. Browse to see where your topic fits. Identify regional conferences targeting undergrad research, and then present at national conference. Again, this our course is undergraduate course. There are some conferences that again target undergrad research work. So undergraduates typically present posters at conferences. Poster presentations are excellent opportunities for networking. Now, we should respond to a call for abstracts. And most of the time, for example, I publish a paper in a journal. They have my contact information, especially my email. Anytime there's any conferences coming, they may send me an email that we have a conference in this field or subject. Please submit an abstract, maybe within some couple of weeks or a month. So respond to a call for abstracts. Ask your professor for feedback on your abstract and make sure it represents the poster or paper you have prepared. After an abstract is submitted, it is reviewed by the committee of the conference's organizers. So some abstracts will be accepted, some may not be accepted. So here we have some common journals dedicated to undergrad research. And these materials are more in our textbook. But again, we have all the websites here. Depends on the field and the discipline. For example, in mathematics, when we have involve a peer-reviewed journal that aims to show cutting-edge research for undergrad and graduate students in mathematics and related disciplines. We have the website link address, so you can check on it. Again, all these materials is in our course textbook, or if not, again, you can get the information from here also. So next is publishing an article. Now, many journals are open to undergrads who have conducted excellent research. Also, university also have journals dedicated to undergrad research. And most journals are peer review, which guarantee the quality of the research and become familiar with writing standards for a journal when trying to publish your work. So again, publishing an article, the first thing we need is to find the journals that we want to submit our work to, especially should be in our field of studies. Most of the time, the process can take up to 3 to 6 months. It depends. Some journals publish once a month. Some journals publish quarterly. That means only 4 times 4 journal. 4 publications in a year quarterly. So based on the number of times they publish, we can determine how long the process of your paper will be published, will go through and be published. But most of the time, the best way to publish an article, it's also good. Sometimes you can send your paper to more than one journals. And the ones that reply you and they are interesting and you feel it's a good journal, then you give to them. Some may accept a fee. You have to pay a fee before you publish. And some you don't need to pay a fee. It's again free of charge. The review process can take a month or more. It depends on the reviewer's time, how long they take to review. And sometimes in some journals, you may have 3, most of the time, up to 3 reviewers. And you have to get report from all of them before even the editor may, the journal editing manager will accept, will get a recommendation if accepted or not. So on June and March 2012, they prepared a list of reviewer priorities when considering studies. So they said the relevance of a problem. I think that's the most important. Most reviewers will ask you what your studies is contributing to your field of studies. Is this study an old study or a repetition of something that has already been done? Then there's no need to publish it. So the relevance of a problem is very important. If it's a new problem and also the problem is relevant, then that's a very first thing we could consider. Second will be the writing style. Also the study design. What type of methodology that was used, data collection or not, the type of methods. Also the quality of your background research, the literature review, and the sample size also. So the relevance of a problem, we know the world may not share your authoritism for a research topic. The whole world will not, for example, we know in this world, everybody have different view of anything. One item, we may have thousands of views. Everybody is unique. So here they say we should ask yourself, is the study attempting to solve or offer insight on a problem that concerns our world today? I think that's important. The writing style, writing is a learned skill. The more experience and practice you have, the better you become. It's like any other skills we acquire. So to improve your writing, we should read scientific articles and books. This is one of the encouragement, advancement that as a graduate student, we always get from our professors. If you want to publish a paper, then you have to read a lot of published papers so that you know how it's been written, how questions are formulated, how the analysis are done. So write every day, practicing almost every day. Think ahead about your study design and presentation of your work. Also, we should avoid unnecessary words and information. Now, in the terms of the study design, we know we have so many different types of study design, especially if you want to publish a paper like in a medical field or public health or something. And those public health and medicine or biology, there are so many studies. For example, we may have a cross-sectional studies, cohort study. For example, what is cohort study? Cohort study means I will get my subjects and I will monitor them with some period of time and give them some intervention and observe it. So it's an observation studies. We also have a cross-sectional. Cross-sectional means I will get my data at a very particular point. I don't need to observe my subjects. So in this case, the only result I may get will be the prevalence of the risk or the disease, if it's a disease. So that's a cross-section. But with cohort, I will not only get the prevalence, but rather I'm focusing on a period of time, the effect of the intervention I'm giving. Why cross-sectional? We don't look at the effect of the intervention, which means in cross-sectional, we are not into what is the risk, what is the outcome, the effect of the risk to the outcome. No. What happened, the proportion of people who have that problem in that environment. Now, we also have a case control studies. In case control means I may have two groups. One is the case, which means they have the risk factors, and the other control, they don't have the risk factors. We give intervention and see what happens. One group may be taking placebo, and other group may be taking the actual intervention medication or whatever we are trying to. So here, again, I'll keep going. There are so many different types of study. The study we're going to pick will depend on the type of our research question and the type of work we want to do, what type of research we want to do. So the study design will be based on the research questions. So here they say whether your design selection fits the study, whether you were ethically in your data collection, how you handle the data afterward, and how many people were involved in your analysis. The level of sophistication of your studies also may decide the type of study design you will use. The next is the quality of literature review. This is the background of your studies. So reviewers always will assess how familiar you are with the work of other researchers in that very particular field. So literature review is very important. This is why most professors in our schools, when we are writing a paper, the background or the literature review is what they look at first, especially in thesis and dissertation. Literature review is the most important part. Now, if you have done a thorough job with this, you'll be able to know how many studies were conducted, know what methodologies were used, which population were explored, and identify gaps in the literature. This literature review with these 4 items here will even help us to choose the right study design, to choose the right number of participants in our studies, and what kind of methodology we are going to use to come up with the findings or the results. Sample size is very important. We took statistics class. We have so many different types of hypothesis testing method like t-test, ANOVA, etc. The sample size can decide our results. If you have lesser sample size, that can have effect on your results. You may get incorrect results. You have larger sample size, also depends. So our goal is to have a moderate. So here we say the smaller sample size can limit the impact of a studies. And also the larger sample size will result in a study with stronger validity and reliability. But sample size is very important to a reviewer in both quantitative and qualitative studies. In data analysis field, we have something we call, when we are doing classification algorithm or classification model to build a classification model. In machine learning, we use the term supervised learning. We can build a model using the sample data. Now, if the sample data is very large, very too much, we may have something we call overfitting. Or if it's very small, which means underfitting. Now, the overfitting and underfitting of our model means I may have a training data set. I build a model. The model will give me a correct result. Perfect model. Now, when I have a test data, that means a data for the model to make decision for me. Maybe I may not get the right decision. We can't make the right decision. Because maybe we use less data or too much data to build a model. So this will be the conclusion of our chapter 14. Again, chapter 14 here we learn about how we can present our research work in a conference to any audience, either in a meeting place, our colleagues at work, or in a class, to our classmates in school, etc. And the book gives us so many steps we should follow, the principles, and this will be the end. Again, this is the end of our lectures, and this is our final week of the semester. So again, wish everybody the best for the final exams. As usual, if you have any question, again, you can send an email or you can contact me. Thank you, and wish everybody the best again.